The year is 1258. February 13th. In the golden halls of the Abbasid Palace, the fountains stop. That is the first warning. In Baghdad, the city of wisdom, where scholars cross continents to drink from the greatest library on earth, fountains do not fall silent without reason. They whisper a single message: the end is here. Beyond the walls, a sea of Mongol riders stains the horizon. Hundreds of thousands. A world without cities, without books. They speak one language, conquest. In days, they will erase a civilization 8 centuries old. But what will haunt the world isn't just the fall of Baghdad. It's what happens after the gates break, what they do to the royal family, to the Caliph, to his sons, to his daughters. The Mongols didn't just kill, they erased. They made examples, and what they did to the house of Al-Mustasim was so vicious, Persian chroniclers who saw it refused to set every detail to ink. Until now, here at Dark Chronicles, we dig where history tried to bury its own screams. Persian manuscripts, Mongol military logs, letters from Venetian traders who fled the firestorm. Every viewpoint is a shard of a shattered mirror. Piece by piece, we bring the forgotten truth back into the light. So, let's return to Baghdad. Right now, the gates are splintering, and what happens over the next 7 days will change the Islamic world forever. To understand the catastrophe, you must understand the man at its heart. Al-Mustasim isn't just a king. He is the Caliph, the deputy of God on earth, successor to the Prophet Muhammad. His dynasty has ruled for 800 years, but the dynasty is old. And so is its confidence. Al-Mustasim is weak, comfortable, surrounded by courtiers who tell him only what he wants to hear. He trusts in titles, in tradition. He believes his status makes him untouchable. So, when the Mongols march toward Baghdad, he does what he's always done. He assumes the world will blink first. He believes Allah will protect him. He believes no army would dare strike the Caliphate itself. He believes Baghdad is too sacred, too inevitable to fall. He is wrong. The Mongols are led by Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis. By the time they reach Baghdad's outskirts, they are no longer an army. They are a storm. They've crushed 40 cities, built mountains of skulls, turned rivers red. Now they stand before the richest city on earth. Hulagu sends a letter: surrender and be spared. Resist and your city becomes dust. Your name erased. Al-Mustasim reads it and laughs. These barbarians don't understand. He tells his court, I am the Caliph. God will not abandon me. But God has other plans. Or maybe God simply looks away. On January 29th, 1258, the assault begins. This is no normal siege. The Mongols bring Chinese engineers, men who understand explosive powder, rockets, machines Baghdad has never seen. Day and night, the walls are hammered. The sky trembles. Towers collapse. The defenders fight bravely. But bravery is not enough when the enemy has perfected killing into a science. Baghdad bleeds from 1,000 wounds. On February 5th, the walls break. On the 10th, resistance ends. On February 13th, Hulagu stands in the throne room. The Caliph kneels. His golden robes are torn. His turban, the symbol of divine authority, lies in the dust like a rag. The man who believed himself protected by heaven now looks very, very mortal. He begs for mercy. Hulagu stares with something close to curiosity. A hunter studying a creature that never understood it was prey. The historian Rashid al-Din describes the scene. Hulagu asks, coldly, Where is your God now? The Caliph cannot answer. His lips move in silent prayer. Hulagu laughs. Then he says, You love gold. Let us see if gold will feed you. What happens next becomes one of history's most infamous moments. The Mongols drag the entire treasury into the throne room. Mountains of wealth, centuries of tribute, conquest, heartbeat of an empire, piled into glittering heaps. They lay it before Al-Mustasim, and they force him to eat it, gold shoved into his mouth, silver coins ground between his teeth. The room fills with laughter as his teeth crack, his throat burns, his body rebels. When he refuses, they beat him until he obeys. This goes on for hours. He is not allowed to faint, not allowed to die, not by the time they stop. His stomach is swollen, ruined, but the torture is only the doorway. Hulagu orders the royal family brought in. First, the eldest daughter, Princess Fatima. 27, a scholar, a poet who spoke 5 languages, a woman raised believing knowledge could save the world. Now, she is forced to her knees before her father. Hulagu orders her robes removed. She refuses. Soldiers rip them away. Rashid al-Din cannot bring himself to describe everything. He leaves one chilling line. What happened to her happened before her father's eyes. And when it was over, she was no longer alive. Other accounts are clearer. A Venetian merchant writes what survivors whispered. Fatima is violated by multiple men, one after another, while her father watches. When she dies, her body is thrown to the dogs. A princess, a poet, reduced to a trophy for conquerors who see a library as kindling, and her father, the most powerful man in the Islamic world, helpless, watching, unable to lift a hand. The night is not over. The 3 sons are brought in. The eldest is 23, the youngest 14, still half a child. Hulagu looks at them the way a butcher looks at livestock. He asks, "Where is your God now?" The eldest, Prince Mubarak, steps forward. Maybe it's courage. Maybe it's the last spark of certainty. He says, "Allah will punish you for this." Hulagu nods, then gives a quiet command. Mongol tradition forbids spilling royal blood upon the earth. They believe it brings a curse. So they kill kings without a drop. For these princes, Hulagu chooses the method of the carpet. The boys are wrapped tightly in heavy rugs, so tight they can't struggle, can't breathe. Muffled cries rise from the wool. Then the carpets are laid flat on the marble, and Mongol horsemen ride over them. Again, and again, and again. The sound, Rashid al-Din writes, is like wood breaking. Not a clean snap, something uglier. Bones shatter under hooves. Flesh crushes into stone. The cries thin, then vanish. The Caliph sits frozen. He does not scream, does not leap forward. There is nothing left in him that believes begging matters. His sons are dead. And Hulagu isn't finished. 3 daughters remain. The youngest, Princess Aisha, is 12, small enough that her bracelets still slip down her wrists. For the older 2, Hulagu decides a bloodless death is too simple. They are taken as spoils, not for common soldiers, but for generals. Living trophies, dragged out into the steppe, thousands of miles from the gardens of their childhood. Their names will disappear. They don't die in ink. They stop existing. But little Aisha is not given away. Hulagu keeps her, forces her into Mongol clothing, forces her to speak Mongolian, forces her to abandon her name. A Persian chronicler meets an elderly woman decades later who claims to be Aisha. She is 80, her back curved like a bow. She barely remembers Baghdad, but she remembers Hulagu leaning down, whispering so only she could hear, "You are the last. Your line ends with you." And she says, with dead eyes, he was right. Meanwhile, in the throne room, Al-Mustasim still lives. Barely. His stomach is ruined, his spirit trampled, and still the Mongols do not kill him. Not yet. Hulagu wants it to mean something. The Caliph is wrapped in a carpet just like his sons. Tight. Suffocating. Then the Mongols build a wooden platform above him, and on that platform they hold a feast. Hulagu and his generals sit directly over the bundled Caliph, eating roasted meat, drinking wine, laughing. while the man beneath them slowly dies. Every shift of weight presses the carpet down. Every burst of laughter steals air from his lungs. The feast lasts all night. At dawn, they roll the carpet out. Rashid al-Din describes the body. The Caliph's face is purple. His eyes are open. No wound. No blood. Just the frozen proof of suffocation. The Abbasid dynasty ends right there. 800 years of unbroken rule, erased in a single week. But the horror doesn't stop at the palace gates. Baghdad is now defenseless. The Mongols move through the city like fire through dry grass. They slaughter without pause. Men, women, children, scholars, it doesn't matter. Bodies pile so thick horses struggle to step over them. Chroniclers estimate close to 1 million die. Then, the Mongols turn to the House of Wisdom, the legendary library, home to manuscripts found nowhere else on earth. They burn it. They throw books into the Tigris until the river runs black with ink, then red with blood. One eyewitness, a scholar, hides in a well for 3 days. When he crawls out, he writes, "The city was dead. The streets were covered with corpses. The air smelled of death, and dogs ate the bodies because there was no one left to bury them." Imagine that silence, that smell. A civilization losing not just its people, but its memory. The Mongol Empire will last 150 more years. They will conquer more land than any empire before, but they cannot conquer remembrance, because even when Baghdad falls, the story of the Caliph's family does not die. It is whispered by survivors, passed down in fragments. Centuries later, those whispers reach us. We tell them now not to reopen wounds for fun, but because some truths are too terrible to forget. Because if we forget them, history doesn't end. It repeats. When people talk about the fall of Baghdad, they talk about numbers. 1 million dead. A library burned. But numbers don't scream. Numbers don't beg. Numbers don't remember what it felt like to be alive 5 minutes before the world turned black. Al-Mustasim believed his title made him immortal. He believed God would not let Baghdad die. But faith without realism is its own kind of blindness. And if there is one lesson this story hammers into us, it is this: no civilization, no matter how rich, how wise, how advanced, is immune to collapse if it stops paying attention to the world outside its walls. Think about the fountains going silent. The first sign wasn't an attack, or a scream, or a fire. It was stillness. The quiet before the end. You've just walked through one of the darkest weeks in human history. If this story reminds you how brutal power can be when it has no limits, then don't let it vanish back into silence. Subscribe. Help us keep these buried chapters alive. The past doesn't stay buried on its own. We bury it by forgetting. And the ones who forget history are the ones history finds again. Before you go, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I read them all. I want to know how far these stories reach. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and remember, some truths are too terrible to be lost.